coffee, and then, of course, it's added. Sugar is added to it, and cream, and all sorts of sweeteners and all that. And sugar leaches the vitamins and minerals out of your body.
Oh.
Not only that, it paralyzes your immune system cells, the white blood cells that are supposed to fight disease, the lymphocytes and the the PMN leukocytes, the polymorphonuclear leukocytes. Those are the cells that fight infectious disease, and the lymphocytes fight general disease. And those are paralyzed when you eat sugar. They're paralyzed for 5 hours. So when you have a donut for breakfast, or when you have a candy bar at lunchtime, or soda with sugar in it, or in the evening you have dessert or something, you have paralyzed your immune cells for the whole day.
Yeah.
Now people say, well, I don't drink soda with sugar in it. I drink it with NutraSweet. Well, that's worse. That is worse. That causes brain tumors and blindness and visual disturbances and Parkinson's and Lou Gehrig's disease and all sorts of neurologic diseases. In fact, I believe strongly that Michael J. Fox, the actor who got such severe neurologic disease and diagnosing as Parkinson's, he was, for years, the poster boy for either Pepsi or Coke, Diet Pepsi or Coke. I can't remember which one. And so they provided him with huge amounts of it, and he was drinking this aspartame, NutraSweet, all the time, plus caffeine. Plus he was a big alcohol drinker as well at a young age. And so here he is now. They call it Parkinson's, but he does not have routine Parkinson's, because when you have Parkinson's, you have decreased motion. Your face becomes placid, and you have no expression on your face, and your arms you have trouble even getting them away from your body. He's flailing around all the time. You see? So what I believe is, rather than just run-of-the-mill Parkinson's, he has aspartame poisoning.
Ah, I see.
Okay? He has aspartame. His neurologic system has been poisoned by aspartame, which is really a bit different. Not that it's cured the same way. You can reverse this, okay? But he doesn't know how to reverse it because he's surrounded by supposedly so-called experts who are all in darkness. And I have seen him interviewed where he's been interviewing, shaking, and had a can of Diet Pepsi or Coke, whichever one, in his hand. He could hardly hold it in his hand, and he's drinking it during the interview while he's talking about his Parkinson's.
Oh, my God. Oof.
You see? So that is the darkness, and no doctor's going to tell him, because you see that medicine is money-driven. That's number one. And number two is the pharmaceutical companies, at least in the United States, and I'm sure in virtually every other country, control organized medicine because it provides most of the money that's used for medical research. And so when you provide to a medical school the research funding, you control a lot of what is taught.
Lorraine, I wanted to ask you also, of course, about the more obvious questions that arise here, who might come from people who listen to this show. I mean, regarding, of course, milk and dairy and animal protein and meat and all this stuff. Well, if you could outline for us what the main reasons why we actually should avoid these as humans.
Okay. Well, first of all, let's talk about dairy. The only milk that a human being needs in their whole lifetime is mother's milk, and that's until they're weaned. There's no other animal that drinks the milk from another animal. A cow does not come to your door and ask you if they can have some human milk for their calf. Cow's milk is made for baby cows. It has so much fat in it, it's meant to turn, like, I don't know, a 80-pound calf into a 400-pound cow in 6 to 7 months. Right? That's way too much fat and protein for a human being. Even when it is skim milk or low-fat milk, it's way too much. Besides that, the number one cause of osteoporosis is drinking milk and eating dairy products. Okay, that's been known in the medical literature since 1930, 70 years ago, in the finest medical journals. We're never taught that in medical school. I found it on my own.
Yeah.
And by the way, in my workbook called Getting Started on Getting Well, I have 17 pages of abstracts from the finest medical journals showing the association between these things and cancer and other diseases. So the more milk a woman drinks, the more osteoporosis she develops. Because here's what happens when you eat meat. When I say meat, I'm talking about meat, poultry, and fish, not just red meat.
Yeah.
So when you eat meat, poultry, and fish, dairy, and eggs, it produces acid in your body. For anybody who knows chemistry, hydrogen ions. It produces acid in your body.
Yeah.
Well, the body must keep the blood at a very narrow pH. So otherwise you will die. So in order to neutralize all this acid coming in, the way it does it is it pulls calcium out of the bones.
Yeah.
And you see, men become osteoporotic too. It's just that men start out with a stronger bone structure than women do, so it's not as noticeable. But they become osteoporotic too.
Yeah.
And so, but women have, they may break their hip. And of course, if an elderly woman breaks her hip, that frequently is the beginning of the end, because she becomes partially bedridden and she has to go to surgery. And then frequently, it's just what we call in medicine, they get the dwindles. They just start dwindling away. And so this can be fatal. And the reason they're osteoporotic is because they've been eating meat, poultry, fish, and dairy and eggs.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Now the other thing is milk drinking is one of the primary causes of juvenile onset diabetes, where a child has to be on insulin for the rest of their lives, and one of the major causes of blindness in the world is diabetes.
Yeah.
And one of the major causes of loss of feet and legs, the amputation because of small vessel disease in there, is diabetes. I have amputated lots of legs for people with diabetes because they start losing sensation, because it's not just a disease of sugar, it's a disease of the blood vessels and the nerves.
Oh, okay.
Right?
Yeah.
And so we can avoid all kinds of diabetes completely. The reason it's the number one cause of diabetes in children, you see, the diabetes that occurs in children is the juvenile onset, actually destroys the cells in the pancreas that produce insulin. The adult onset, which they used to call it adult onset, now they call it diabetes type 2, because even young people are getting diabetes type 2. That's because they're eating too much fat and sugar, too much fat, particularly animal fat in meat, poultry, and fish, and too much sugar.
Yeah.
And so when the cells just become fatigued, they aren't destroyed, but they become fatigued, you can reverse this diabetes type 2 in about 6 months. All you have to do is go on a vegan diet, start exercising, and drink your water, and your diabetes will go away.
Amazing.
That's the adult onset or the type 2.
Yeah.
Now the type 1, here's what causes that. When milk is taken into the body, it's from an animal. All right?
Yeah.
And so the body looks at it and says, this is not right. This comes from some other source.
Yeah.
And there is a protein in the milk that is almost identical to a protein that is in the pancreatic cells that produce insulin. So when this milk from an animal comes in, the body looks at it, and the immune cells say, I'm going to make an antibody against this to destroy this. But the immune cell can't tell the difference between this protein that's coming in, that's in the whey portion of milk. They can't tell the difference between that and the protein that's in the pancreatic cells. So the immune system of the individual turns on itself and destroys the pancreatic cells.
Oh, okay.
And that's how the child develops juvenile onset diabetes.
Yeah, yeah.
All right? So, I mean, a child doesn't need anything. No other animal drinks milk after it's weaned.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
This is a thing that the Milk and Dairy Council is spreading all over the world, and they're doing it to make money.
Yeah.
They know that nobody needs milk except children, and they just need mother's milk until they're weaned.
Yeah, yeah.
Now, if you really want some other milk, you can have rice milk. I don't recommend soy milk because you'll see in my my workbook, I talk a lot about soy.
Yeah.
And soy is not a good food, and certainly not any food that anybody should eat who's sick.
Yeah.
You want to have a little bit of soy if you're well, okay, but it's not healthy.
Yeah.
All right?
Yeah, I've heard it too, yeah, of course.
Yeah, and I discuss that in my workbook. But anyway, now, when this high-protein Atkins diet, the reason it causes weight loss, there's two main reasons it causes weight loss. Number one, you dehydrate your body terribly because you're eating all of these animal products, which, first of all, will cause severe osteoporosis. I mean, it's going to have terrible things. There is a very high association between animal products and cancer.
Yeah, yeah.
That's why you go on a vegan diet, and I have all the medical literature support for this in my workbook.
Oh, excellent! Right? Yeah, yeah.
And when they do that, it also requires a lot of water to digest this protein. So you dehydrate your body at the same time. So when they're eating this high protein diet, they're losing a lot of water. Plus, they're pushing their body into a disease state called ketosis. Ketosis is what happens to diabetics, and when they come into the emergency room in ketosis, we consider that a medical emergency. And yet people are walking around in ketosis, this abnormal state, all the time. Besides, I'll tell you this, people, you want to make friends? Don't go on the Atkins diet because it makes your breath smell terrible.
Yeah.
Because you have all this rotting flesh in your intestines.
Oof, yeah.
Fruits, grains, and vegetables go through the intestinal tract quite rapidly and help you eliminate your waste. But meat, poultry, and fish go through very slowly. And they putrefy while they're in there. And they set up toxic waste, and then that's reabsorbed into your body, and that's one of the biggest things that causes cancer and other diseases.
Oof, my God.
And so that's why many alternative doctors will say cancer begins in the colon. Now, you don't have to have colon cancer. You can have breast cancer, brain cancer, but it's still in large part caused by your inability to rapidly eliminate these toxic materials.
Yeah, yeah.
You see? Yeah. Now, you look at people say, well, I don't have enough energy if I don't eat meat. Well, the reason you have more energy when you eat meat, first of all, it's very stressful for the body, and it sets off the fight or flight reaction, which is false energy. The second thing it does is you're eating all these hormones from the animal, not only its regular hormones, but when it was going to be slaughtered, it knew it, and so it pours out huge amounts of adrenaline and cortisone, and that is not destroyed by cooking, and you eat all that. So it gives you energy, but it's not the kind of energy you want. If you want to look at the most energy people have, you look at the beasts of burden, elephants and camels and horses. They're all vegetarian.
Yeah.
You see? Those are the ones that have the most energy. Now, the cat family, lions and tigers and leopards, they have spurts of energy. They can run fast for a short distance, but they don't have long-term energy. And they eat meat. But they have a very short, straight intestine, so they can get those waste products out very fast so it doesn't kill them. Human beings have a very long, coiled intestine like the horse and the deer. We are meant to be vegetarians.
Okay, I see. There we go. And of course, as I said, I myself am a vegan and have chosen this path for the moment. And I mean, for those that might be in between, so to speak, who might be considering all these things, but still have kind of like worries, maybe if they is there certain things that one should think about when we go on a vegan diet? What should we eat to get all the nutrients and vitamins and so forth?
Well, certainly, it used to be thought that vegetarians were going to be low in vitamin B12.
Yeah.
Well, that's not true, and I discuss that in my workbook as well and on my videos. Because you need so little vitamin. You need vitamin B12, but you need a very small amount of it. In your lifetime, you need about the amount that is found in the period at the end of a sentence in your newspaper. All right?
Yeah.
Now, the reason the doctor said that vitamin B12 was not in vegetarian products, it was only in animal products, is because they didn't have the expertise and the equipment to find that small amount. Because it's in a lot of foods.
Okay. Yeah.
It's in alfalfa. It's in barley. It's in a number of vegetarian foods.
Yeah.
Okay? They just couldn't find it. Now they know that it's there. I also discuss that in my workbook. Plus, they say, well, you have to get a balanced diet, you have to eat a lot of food all at once so you have complete proteins. I have the medical documentation for that in my workbook as well, showing that the body can store